Hello, everyone, and welcome to Love Chat with the Love Twins. Let me get myself centered here. Oh, my goodness. Welcome to Love Chat with the Love Twins. If you are a woman who feels confident, capable, ready to take on whatever your business, your career brings to you, and when it comes to having a conversation, it comes to you refeeling like you're in your element, that you are able to handle just about anything. But in love, it kind of goes sideways, it gets a little wonky. I'm glad you're here. You're going to be glad you're here, because if you think about the last time that you had a really good date or a really great phone call with someone, and then you think about what happened the moment you ended that call or the moment you left the date, as you're driving home or as you're in the Uber, and you're like, oh my God, what did I say? Why did I say that? How can I say that differently? If you've gone through that, first of all, let's just take a nice deep breath together, because that whole anxiety, second guessing, just not feeling like yourself, we're about to remedy that. We're about to make it a lot easier for you to feel like yourself, to be yourself when it comes to love, dating, and relationships. So if you are here with me and that excites you, go ahead and put me in the chat, because that helps me to know, number one, that I am not here alone, but also that this is something that is relevant, that is helpful to you. Michelle and I don't want to make anything that we offer anything less than extraordinary for you, anything less than that it truly speaks to you and what it is that you want to create in your love life, in your relationships. So while I'm waiting for you all to do that, give me a second. To my screen just went blank, and I want to make sure that I am still here. I don't know why it's not letting me check that. Give me just 1 second. I promise this is going to be worth it. So I'm hoping we have some me's in the chat. Let me see. Do I see some? Oh, if I turn on comments, that I can see the comments. Everything on my computer is lagging, so I'm just going to close some things right now while I'm talking to you. This is what happens on live. I was going to say live TV, but live streaming is sometimes stuff just doesn't always go the way that you want it to. So I'm just going to close some things here. And I see Joyce, Teresa, Valley. Hello. Thank you for letting me know that you are here. And Toya, it's good to see you. Really good to see your name pop up. All right. If you haven't said me, then are you hiding? Remember, he cannot find you if you are hiding. He can do a lot of things, but he can't find you if you're hiding, if you're not letting yourself be seen and known. And here, this is a safe place, right? It's a safe space. So it's a perfect place for you to allow yourself to be seen. Okay, so I want to talk a little, I want to talk about this over the next 20 or so minutes, because it really is, when I say that the topics that we bring are things that we're having actual conversations with our clients. We're not making these things up. We're not just, pulling ideas out of a hat. We'll have a conversation with somebody and they'll bring up a topic and we're like, you know what, this is relevant. And this is what our clients are saying. So if you're like the women that we coach, if you're anything like them at all, when you left that date or you left that phone call, you didn't actually relax, right? Either if it was a call, you're replaying, rehearsing, like, oh, I said this, I said that. What does he think I said? Or, oh my gosh, is he going to like me? Is he going to call me back? Is he going to ask me out again? Right? And you start wondering, did I talk too much? God, should I have said that thing about work? Or should I have said that thing about my ex? And then if it was a phone call, well, we talked 10 minutes ago. Why hasn't he texted me? Like, where is he? Or I sent a text and it's been 11 minutes. Oh my gosh, why isn't he texting? That kind of stuff. Like I said, if that's you, welcome. Welcome, because you're exactly who this is for. And for those of you who are new, first of all, welcome. I see a lot of familiar faces. Those of you who are new, or familiar names, I should say. I'm Gladys Diaz. I'm co-founder of Heart's Desire International. And what's wild about this topic is that the women, if you resonated with any of this, first of all, you're not alone, but the women who this happens to, who do this, who second guess or question, rehearse, regret what was said, what wasn't said, question what he's thinking during the date, after the date, after the call, they are not insecure. So if you ever heard somebody say, oh, you're probably insecure, what normally comes up for the kind of women that we work with is, I'm not insecure. I'm actually very confident, right? We work with very confident, accomplished women. So they're not insecure. They're not unaccomplished. They're not like frail, I guess is the word that's coming to mind. They're running companies, leading divisions in the companies that they work for, making $1 million decisions before 9 a.m. when people haven't even had their first cup of coffee. And the women that we work with, they also know how to negotiate a great deal. They lead, they're capable and competent, right? But when you go on this date or you have a call, especially if you really find the person attractive and you really like them, you turn into this completely different person where you're replaying and spiraling and Googling and talking to your GPT about what should I have said and what should I say when he types back. I know I'm not talking to myself here, right? Go ahead and put a number 1 in the chat if I'm hitting the nail on the head, that this is what happens. And so it's not a coincidence that this is tonight's topic. Okay. So first I want to say right off the bat, if you are new to our community or you find yourself in this second guessing state, right? After a date, after a text, after a conversation, there's usually a pattern. I'm seeing lots of ones coming up in the comments. There's a pattern underneath it, right? And we offer something called the Love Breakthrough Call for people who have never had an opportunity to speak to one of our Love Breakthrough coaches. And on that call, we help you to uncover what's really keeping you from trusting yourself and from creating the kind of relationship that your heart truly desires. So we'll go ahead and we'll drop that link in the comments on all the platforms, because that's probably the easiest way to start the conversation. And you'll have the conversation after today's session. So stay tuned to the end. I promise you there's great stuff at the end so that you have something to bring to that call. Okay. So as I go through today's session, I really don't want you to be shy. And when I ask a question, it's really important that you reply. We've got, I don't know what's happening with the links, but make sure you drop the one. Something happened with the YouTube one. It's kind of chopped off, Ali. So maybe we need to repost that complete. But I don't want you to be shy. Okay. I already know that most of you resonate with this on a like 8, 9, or 10 level. Okay. So, let me do that. On a scale from 1 to 10, how much do you resonate with replaying a conversation after a phone call or after a date? So 1 is I don't give it a second thought, and 10 is I could recite to you the transcript of my internal conversation. Like, it happens almost all the time. So go ahead and put scale of 1 to 10. How much do you resonate with this? And the reason I'm having you do this is because this is what has you now lean in and say, okay, what do I do to transform this? Because that doesn't make you feel comfortable. It doesn't make you feel confident. And you want love and dating to be easy. You want to feel like you're being yourself. And if you're in your head, rehearsing, replaying, regretting, you're not present. So thank you, Marilyn, for being honest about that. It's an 8 for her, right? So there's a new filter or a new context that I want to give you tonight, because like I said, this is not about insecurity. This is about a competence that's being put into the wrong place. So here's what I mean. In your career, in your business, in running your household, raising your kids, you've built a habit of reviewing your performance, how you did, so that you can improve it. So there's value in that. There's value in looking at What did I say? What did I do? What worked? What didn't work? So that you can look to see how you can improve. That's healthy, right? You do a post-mortem after an event or after a launch, right? You replay a difficult conversation that you had with a client or a colleague or your boss so that you can have a better conversation next time. That instinct, it's made you successful at work. The problem is that dating isn't a performance review. Like the ones that we get at work. Dating is not a performance review. There's no version of the date or the phone call where analyzing every single sentence that you said gives you more control over whether or not he calls, right? But your brain doesn't know the difference. It's reacting the same way in two different scenarios. It just knows that you felt uncertainty. Uncertainty happened. And so then what that triggers is it's time to analyze until I can feel safe again. So what's actually happening is that you're trying to create a sense of safety by trying to figure out if what you said, did, wrote was right or not. Okay. So while that's a tool, like that same exact tool makes you brilliant at work and you point to it, it works when you're having conversations with colleagues, with clients, with your boss. When you point that to a place where it doesn't work, it doesn't create clarity. It creates a loop of uncertainty. And that's why you find yourself continuing to question yourself, right? And that loop convinces you that if you just think about it hard enough, if you just get, strategize a little longer, you'll figure out whether he liked you, right? When the question that actually matters is whether you liked him, whether this is the kind of man who's even aligned with what you want to experience, if he's even capable of matching you on your values, matching what you bring to the table. So that's a completely different question than, did I say too much? Did I talk too much? Did I share? Should I have not shared that? That's a very different question. And it's the one that we teach women to ask instead. Okay. So if you put an 8, a 5, a 10 in the whole replaying it in your head, whether you answered out loud or not, right? It's, first of all, it's okay. There's nothing wrong. You're just aiming a strategy at the wrong target. And when you aim a strategy at the wrong target, or you use the wrong tool, for example, if you're trying to hammer a frame into the wall and you're using a cotton ball, it's not going to be as effective as if you use a hammer, right? So you've got to use the right skills and the right techniques in the right way. So how do we do that? I'm not telling you to never, ever reflect on a date or a conversation or a text conversation. That's not what I'm saying. Okay. Self-reflection is healthy. Self-criticism is not. Self-deprecation is not. So here's the difference. And I really want you to lean in and actually hold this one. Hold this one to you. Healthy reflection sounds like, did I feel safe, emotionally safe? Did I feel at ease? Did I feel respected? Did I feel curious about them and feel like he's curious about me? That's evaluating the experience that you had. It's not about evaluating him. And it's not about evaluating yourself. You're evaluating the experience that you had. And then you're evaluating the fit, the match. So healthy reflection is about looking to see, what was my experience like? Now, if you said, no, I didn't feel safe, I felt anxious, but it was because you were having a conversation in your head, that's not so much about the person you're on the date with, or on the phone call with, right? That could be your own pattern, that loop, right, of uncertainty, of anxiety. And so that's another pattern to break. Another example, self-criticism would be like, was I too much? Did I mess it up? What's wrong with me? Why do I always do that? Why can't I just get it right? It's interrogating yourself, berating yourself. It's like you're doing that on his behalf, and he isn't even asking you to do that. He hasn't given you a reason to. Not, he's probably not having these questions because he's probably not judging you, evaluating you in the harsh way that you're evaluating yourself. So here's the tell, so that you can tell whether you're engaging in healthy self-reflection or in self-criticism. Healthy self-reflection leaves you feeling steady. Not that you're not maybe still going to have a little bit of nervousness, like it'd be great if this worked out, like a little bit of hope and excitement, but there you feel steady, you feel grounded, and you feel aligned with yourself. Self-criticism leaves you feeling smaller, wrong. And that's a big difference. Feeling steady and feeling smaller are two completely different things. Feeling grounded and feeling wrong are two completely different things. So if you walk away from a phone call, from a date, shrinking, instead of standing taller in who you are, the woman that you are, then that's not about love. That's not about dating. That's about you feeling like you blew an audition. And you are not auditioning for the men that you are dating with. You're not performing, you're not auditioning. You get to be yourself, because he cannot like you, he cannot fall in love with you, and he cannot stay in love with you if you are not even there, if he's not even getting the privilege of getting to know you. So just for a moment, I want you to imagine leaving a date. I want you to just think about the last date you had. And I want you to imagine leaving a date feeling completely confident, at peace, at ease. You're confident in who you are. You're confident in being the woman that you are, instead of questioning every word that you said. Instead of wondering what he's thinking about you, you feel peaceful in how you feel about you. If that's something that just made you go, yes, and smile, then I want to keep dropping this little seed. We've been doing this for a few weeks, and it's coming. I'm telling you, the announcement is coming. But at the Irresistible Woman Live, which is our biggest event of the year, you'll learn how to trust yourself. First of all, how to know yourself, who you truly are, because you can't be who you truly are if you don't know who you truly are. So knowing who you truly are, how to trust yourself, how to silence self-doubt and turn up your confidence so that you show up in love, exuding, radiating that confidence, radiating ease and authenticity, that you are truly being who you are. So if you want to be part of that 3-day event that's coming up in October, go ahead and put the letters IWL for Irresistible Woman Live. Put IWL in the chat if you want it, if you would like to be added to the list of ladies who will be the first to get all the details, because it's going to be a little different this year. All right. So go ahead and put IWL in the chat if you want to be on the list of the ladies who are the first to know all of the details. Okay. So before I keep going, after you put IWL, I want you to just think about what we've been talking about. Okay. This list that we're building for the IWL in October is going to take this kind of conversation. There's several conversations that we have, but it's going to take this conversation go a lot deeper, because we'll be live, and Michelle and I will be able to answer your questions and really give you in the moment coaching for the things that keep blocking and stopping and sabotaging your love life. So I'm going to tell you more later, but I just want to make sure that if this is the kind of conversation you want to spend 3 days of your life doing something, you want to make sure that it matters, that it counts, and that it adds value to your life. So that's why I'm inviting you to put IWL in the chat. Okay. Now, where does all of this insecurity loop come from? Where does it come from? Because it didn't start with him, right? This isn't the only day that this has ever happened. This started way before this day. It probably started way before you even started dating. Because most of the women that we've coached over, we're talking about almost 2 decades inside of this company, they learned somewhere along the way. This is the pattern that we've seen, whether it was from a parent, a teacher, a family member, an ex, a boss. There was a message given to them that being too much gets punished, being not enough gets punished. And maybe you were told that you talked too much, or that you had too much energy, or that you just needed to tone it down a bit. Maybe your ex made you feel like you were crazy for having needs and desires. And maybe you learned that love is something you have to earn by managing yourself perfectly, showing up perfectly. And so now, as a grown woman who runs her life beautifully, that old voice, it still shows up the second that romance is on the table, because romance is the one place that you can't control everything, number one, and number two, you can't outperform yourself to safety. You can't manage all of the pieces, because there's another human being involved. With that person has their own thoughts, their own desires, their own feelings. So you can't close the deal, so to speak, through effort, through forcing it, through making it happen. You have to actually be seen. You have to actually be known. And you have to actually trust that who you are and what you bring is enough, without feeling that you have to micromanage yourself all the time. So this is what we call, in the heart work, which is our proprietary system, we call it the difference between default love and aligned love. Default love is that pattern that you inherited. Many times there's been generations in your lineage that have been handing down a particular pattern. So default love is that pattern that you inherited. Prove yourself, manage yourself, control yourself. Don't be too much. Earn the love. You got to do something to earn it. That's default love. When we're talking about aligned love, that's choosing from a place where you already know your worth, and not in an arrogant way, but in a self-knowing way. And you're looking at the experience that you're having with him, not auditioning for him. Can you see the difference in that? Like, I remember when I used to be so in my head, that the voices in my head were so loud that I couldn't even hear what the person was saying. I wasn't even present to what the guy was telling me across the table, because I was so in my head about, be careful what you say, or what if he doesn't like you, or don't do this, or remember that. And I was not even on the actual date. So second guessing, questioning this uncertainty loop isn't a dating problem. It's a leftover survival strategy. And it made sense at one point, and it doesn't serve you now. And it certainly doesn't serve you in this kind of situation where we're talking about love, dating, relationships, intimacy. So here's what I'm going to invite you to do differently, starting with your very next conversation, online dating interaction, text messaging interaction, your very next opportunity, whatever it is, however it looks. Before that date or the conversation ends, and before you've said goodbye, right? Ask yourself one question. How do I feel? And do I like how I feel? Not do I like him, not does he like me. How do I feel? And do I like the way I feel? So you want to answer that question, those two questions first, before your brain gets a vote and starts going into its automatic pattern. Okay, so that's the first step. The second thing is, if you notice that you're going into replay, give yourself a hard stop. And I mean this literally. When you catch yourself starting to review the transcript in your head, where you're questioning and making yourself wrong, literally say out loud, or into your notes app, speak it into your phone. I already know how I feel. I'm the chooser here. You're not trying to be chosen by someone. You're looking to see how you feel so that then you can choose and decide if you want to keep getting to know this person. If the experience that you've had is such that you would like to explore having another one. That, ladies, is the key to being present and not going into the old spiral. Because when you say that to yourself, the sentence interrupts that loop because it puts you back into your power instead of into your head. Okay? Or trying to get into his head, trying to think and imagine and predict what the heck somebody else is thinking. Right? It's just, there's such a waste of time and energy. And then the third thing is, remember that a man worth choosing, the right man, the man who's right for you, doesn't require an audition from you. If you're spending the entire night after a date or a phone call wondering whether you made a good enough impression, whether you yourself were good enough, that's actually information, really good information for you about the fit. Right? It's about whether or not this is a good fit. The right man makes this easier, not harder. Where you feel like you can be yourself, makes that easier, not harder, not more anxiety invoking. Okay? So remember, you're not here to be picked or chosen. You are the chooser. And a woman who knows that doesn't replay the tape over and over again and drive herself nuts. She owns it and she chooses. Yes, I want to keep getting to know him. No, I'd rather not keep getting to know him. Now, to get to that place of real confidence and certainty, sometimes it takes breaking through those old patterns and those behaviors that you've been doing so automatically without even thinking or noticing. And that's where it helps to be, like I said, in the room during Irresistible Woman Live, where it's not just a 20-minute one-sided conversation, but you actually get to be in the room, ask your questions, get your coaching, leave with a real blueprint, a real plan that you can take into your life so that you're dating with ease and confidence and fulfillment and joy, not this nerve-wracking experience or disappointing experience that you've been having. Okay? So if you walked away with one thing tonight, let it be that replaying, the over analyzing, the wondering if you're enough or if you said it right, if you got it wrong, that is not a sign that there's something wrong with you. It's a sign that you're just using the wrong tool in the wrong room. You're trying to hit the wrong target with a strategy that works someplace else. You don't need to review the date, and you certainly don't have to do that to the point of exhaustion or confusion or anxiety. You need to trust the decision you already made about how you feel. And if you feel great, then you know that you want to keep getting to know them, keep texting, keep having conversations on the phone. If you don't feel great, then pause and see, is this someone that I would like to continue getting to know? All right, so I want to hear from you. Drop in the comments. What's one thing? I gave you 3 things that you could do, right? What's one thing you're going to do differently after the next phone call or the next date or the next text interaction because of what you learned here tonight? Okay. If you're watching this on replay, put replay in the comments and then just answer the question. Okay. Because this is what lets not just Michelle and I know what you're walking away with, and lets you know you're actually creating a synapse in your brain that goes, this is what I'm learning. And then you can make a commitment to yourself to honor whatever it is that you say you're going to do on the next call, on the next chat, on the next date, right? You're raising your standard for yourself so that you can actually raise the standards in dating, love, and relationships. Okay? So stay in my power. How, Valley? Which of the 3 things are you going to do? Is it a question you're going to ask? And thank you for putting it. What am I going to say to myself? What am I going to do? What's an action I'm going to take? What's the question I'm going to ask myself? Something really concrete so you can. So staying in your power is important. How am I going to do that? I'm going to do that by reminding myself. I'm just talking. I'm not giving you the answer. I'm going to remind myself blank, right? I'm going to ask myself the question, how do I feel? And is this the way I want to keep feeling? right? That would be something concrete. When you do these things, ladies, and we're going to do a lot of this at the Irresistible Woman Live, because that's how Michelle and I, there's a lot of, I know that you've probably heard about neuroplasticity, rewiring, right? Reprogramming your brain. That happens with very, very specific exercises that we take you through at IWO. I said exercises, you could call it a process. They're very intentional, and they are created to break free from the old patterns so that you can start creating new patterns, right? So right now I'm encouraging you to start the new pattern of reminding myself. If I start to notice, like at the end of the call, that I'm going into replay, I'm going to remind myself that the real question is, how do I feel? Do I like the way I feel? Do I want to keep getting to know this person? That's a real concrete thing. I want you to have it in your back pocket so you don't forget it, right? So don't question it. Accept that I was being me and I'm the one choosing. I love that. How did I feel? Is a question Valley's going to ask herself. If they don't call back, be okay with it. Look, if somebody doesn't call back, and we tell our clients, if somebody doesn't come back, call back, they might call back later, a few days later. I talked about that on the last love chat. The thing is, if they don't call back, you just saved yourself sometimes months, if not years, of realizing that this person wasn't right for you. I know that it doesn't always feel great when somebody doesn't call back, especially if you thought that things were going really well in the conversation or on the date. But trust me, and you can remind yourself that if he didn't call, you saved yourself a lot of time and a lot of heartache. Because the more time you spend someone, usually the more emotion you invest, the more love you, the more time, the more energy. So you saved yourself a lot of time, energy, and love that can be better directed towards the man who is right for you and is calling and is wanting to take you out on a date. Okay. So one more, I know people come in at different times. So if you want to join us for the Irresistible Woman Live and you want to be one of the first ladies to learn about the details of how it's going to look this year and what we're going to be creating. Remember, it's 3 full days designed specifically for the smart, successful, highly driven woman who also wants to be loved, that irresistible woman, that you are being so you that he simply cannot resist. That's what it's about. It's 3 amazing days. You can go ahead and put IWL in the chat. And then if you weren't here when I said it at the beginning, if you're new to our community, new to this channel, and you've never had the opportunity to speak to one of our love breakthrough coaches, we're going to go ahead and put a link in the chat for you to have a love breakthrough call. Because on that call, you actually get to have a conversation about what opened up for you, let's say on this episode, and any questions that you have about how do I break through this. And the love breakthrough coach really gives you 2 or 3 steps that you can take immediately, specific to your situation, specific to the question that you're asking. So I am so grateful that we got to have this time together. And I really do hope that we get to see you at the Irresistible Woman Live, because the more I think about it, the more freaking excited I get about what we are creating and what we're going to be experiencing together for those 3 days. And I want to thank you for your trust. I want to thank you for coming. If you have not liked, if you're like watching this on any of our platforms and you haven't followed us, so on YouTube, subscribing makes a difference, because then you get notifications every time we go live or we post. I've been posting reels. I've been doing a whole bunch of new things, sharing a lot about myself, which feels vulnerable. It feels safe with my clients, right? It takes something to let people into your heart that you don't know, but I know that that's going to make a difference. And I can't ask you to be vulnerable and authentic and an open book if I'm not being that. So YouTube, you can go to our YouTube channel, subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching this on a social media platform, please make sure that you're following us on Instagram. It's Heart's Desire INT. And on Facebook, it's very long. But if you look for Heart's Desire International LLC, click on that. And you can we'll also let you know there how you can join our Heart's Desire Sister Circle. So there's so many ways for us to keep in touch. The primary reason Michelle and I do this is because we want you to know that you are 100% worthy, capable, and you can become 100% ready to be in the happy, loving relationship that you desire and deserve. So thanks again for being here with me tonight. And until our hearts meet again, always remember that you are loved. Bye for now.